All right, we're back. Ready for another deep dive into the Jamaican agricultural market?
Always.
Last time, things were getting, well, pretty interesting, right? Especially with those sorrel and sweet pepper prices. That was back in January 25th to February 8th, 2025.
Yeah,
Some prices were down, but it felt like something bigger was going on, right?
definitely. Yeah, you could sense it.
Like, just looking at the volatility, you knew there was more to the story.
Exactly. And the week after, February 7th to 14th, well, that kind of confirmed it.
Oh, how so?
Volatility jumped. Big time. Went all the way up to 41.4%.
Whoa, hold on, 41.4%. That's a huge jump from the week before.
Yeah, 27.34% almost seems calm compared to that.
So does that mean, like, everything went crazy? Prices all over the place?
Not exactly. The overall average, well, that actually went down slightly.
Down, huh?
Another 1.17% drop. But that volatility, that's where things get interesting.
Okay, so what you're saying is high volatility. That could actually be a good thing.
It can be. For some, it's opportunity knocking. But for others, well, it's definitely a risk. It really depends on what you're growing, what you're selling.
All right, so less about the overall picture and more about the specifics. What stood out to you this week?
It looks like both salad and plummy tomatoes took a big hit.
Huge. A tomato tumble, if you will. Salad tomatoes are down a massive 31.71%, averaging $489.67 per kilogram now.
Gosh, and plummy tomatoes right behind them, down 31.26% to an average of $286.01 per kilogram. That's a really steep drop. What do you think could be causing this?
Well, a drop like that usually means there's too much supply. It could be that farmers had a huge harvest,
Right.
or maybe a ton of imported tomatoes all came in at once.
Makes sense.
It's also possible there are some quality issues affecting demand.
Oh, interesting.
We see a similar thing with sorrel, which is down 22.81%. For buyers, this might be a good chance to stock up,
Yeah.
but anyone who's already invested in tomatoes should probably rethink their strategy.
So good news for consumers, maybe a little bit of a warning for producers.
Yeah, exactly. Now, switching gears ago, we have the case of the cantaloupe.
Yes, that 51% price jump. Hard to miss that.
It really is. Imported cantaloupe is now at a pretty hefty $1,152 price of $3 per kilogram.
And yet, the report says that despite this jump, cantaloupe's volatility is actually quite low, only 20.32%.
Right.
So this suggests that demand for cantaloupe is high and will probably stay that way, and it's outpacing the available supply.
Yeah, it seems that way.
This reminds me of that limited supply of sorrel and lettuce we were talking about last time. Do you think supply chain issues could be affecting the cantaloupe market as well?
It's certainly possible. Any disruptions in the supply chain, from logistics to weather to other factors, can cause demand to outstrip supply, which then drives up prices.
So tomatoes are down and cantaloupe is way up. It seems like location plays a role too. The report pointed out some regional differences.
It's like Clarendon, for example. Prices were down there.
Clarendon, yeah, interesting case.
What's going on there? They had stable supply, but prices still went down.
Well, think about location. Clarendon is known for its agricultural output, no doubt, but it's also further inland compared to some other parishes.
So getting those goods to the market, that costs money.
Transportation, distribution, those costs add up, and ultimately they impact the price farmers receive.
So even if you're growing a lot, your location can make a big difference to your bottom line.
It's not just what you grow, but where you grow it, and how you get it to the people who want to buy it.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's Kingston and St. Andrew. High prices there, but the supply data, well, it was nah. What did that even mean?
Nah, yeah, that always raises eyebrows.
So no supply at all? Is that what it means?
Not necessarily. Nah just means we don't have data. It could be a data collection issue. Maybe transactions happened outside of the usual channels. Who knows?
But we do see high prices.
We do. High prices without recorded supply.
Okay, now that is interesting. What are we supposed to make of that?
Well, it could be a data glitch, but it could also mean something else entirely.
Like what?
Think about it. High demand, low official supply. That creates an opportunity.
For who?
For anyone willing to work outside the system, perhaps. Those who can find a way to get those goods to markets, they could be commanding a premium.
So there's like a whole hidden market operating under the radar.
It's possible. Official data doesn't always tell the whole story. Sometimes the most interesting things are happening in the shadows.
This is getting good. A secret level of the Jamaican agricultural market. I like it.
It reminds us to look beyond the obvious, to question what we think we know.
Okay, before we go down that rabbit hole, there are a couple more regional things I wanted to touch on. St. Mary and St. Thomas, they both had scarce lifted as their main supply status.
Scarce, huh? That's not good.
What could cause that kind of scarcity?
Lots of things, unfortunately. It could be weather-related, maybe droughts or too much rain mess things up.
So yields are down because of the weather.
Could be. Or maybe there are issues with infrastructure or getting access to the market. It could be a combination of factors.
So scarce doesn't just mean there isn't much produce. It could be a sign of deeper issues in those areas.
Exactly. It's a symptom, not the cause. And understanding the cause, well, that's crucial.
Okay, so we've got these big price swings, hidden markets, regional challenges. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. This data, it's like a puzzle, and we're just starting to put the pieces together.
I'm ready to dive deeper, but maybe we should take a quick pause, gather our thoughts. We'll be back in a bit to continue this fascinating explanation. We're back, and I'm still thinking about St. Mary and St. Thomas. You know those scarce supply labels?
Yeah.
What does that mean for people living there? Like, what are the real world effects?
Well, scarcity usually means one thing: higher prices.
Makes sense. Less of something, people are willing to pay more to get it.
Exactly. And for consumers, it means less choice, maybe having to switch to different foods altogether.
And potentially, not having enough food at all, right?
Food security becomes a real concern. If local supplies can't meet demand, are people going to be okay? Or will they become more reliant on imports?
So it's not just about prices. It's about whether people can even get the food they need.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that everything's connected. Like, remember Kingston and St. Andrew?
Yeah, the name mystery.
Right. So maybe those high prices there, maybe that's actually pulling in produce from nearby areas, places like St. Mary and St. Thomas, even if the data isn't capturing it.
So even without clear data, the market's finding its own way to balance things out.
Exactly. It's like, well, it's like water, isn't it? It always finds a path.
But we can't forget about the bigger picture, right? There are these massive forces at play that affect everything.
Oh, absolutely. Climate change, globalization, technology, these things are shaping the entire agricultural landscape. Not just in Jamaica, but everywhere.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a minute. Climate change, how's that impacting Jamaican farmers?
Well, just like farmers all over the world, they're on the front lines feeling the effects firsthand.
In what way?
More extreme weather, for one, droughts, hurricanes, they're becoming more frequent, more intense, and that can wipe out entire crops, disrupt whole growing seasons.
So it's like 1 minute everything's fine, the next, boom, disaster strikes.
It can be, yeah. And then there are the more gradual changes, like rainfall patterns shifting, temperatures rising.
Some of things that still have a huge impact over time.
Exactly. It makes it harder to plan, harder to know what to expect. Farmers have to become incredibly adaptable, resourceful, just to keep up.
So it's not just about dealing with a hurricane here and there, it's like a whole new way of farming.
You could say that, yeah. It's about climate-smart practices, thinking long-term, being ready for anything.
So what, they gotta be part meteorologist, part environmental scientist, on top of everything else?
Pretty much. And then you add globalization into the mix, and it gets even more complex.
Okay, globalization, that's such a big word. What does it mean for Jamaican farmers specifically?
Well, think about it this way. It opens up new markets, right? Suddenly, Jamaican produce can be sold all over the world. Exotic fruits, spices, specialty coffees, they could find a global audience.
Sounds good, right? More buyers, more opportunities.
It can be, but the flip side is there's more competition too.
So it's not just about competing with other Jamaican farmers anymore in global.
Exactly. Farmers in other countries, they might have lower costs, government support, things like that. Jamaican farmers have to find a way to stand out, to offer something unique, something special.
So what's the secret? How do they compete on that global stage?
Quality is key, of course. Organic practices are becoming more and more important. And then there's the Jamaican brand itself.
That's a powerful brand, for sure. People associate Jamaican products with quality, with authenticity.
There's a story to tell there, a story of tradition, of passion, of unique flavors. Consumers are looking for that, and technology can help tell that story in new and exciting ways.
Okay, technology, we've mentioned it a few times, but what does that actually look like for farmers on the ground?
Well, think about things like precision farming, sensors in the soil, drones flying overhead, data analysis helping optimize everything. It's about using technology to make farming more efficient, more sustainable.
So it's like bringing Silicon Valley out to the fields.
In a way, yeah. And then you've got data analytics helping farmers track prices, predict demand, even connect with buyers directly.
No more guesswork, just hard data-driving decisions.
Exactly. And let's not forget about e-commerce and social media. Those are powerful tools for reaching consumers, building a brand, telling your story.
It's about empowering farmers, giving them more control over their businesses, connecting them directly with the people who want their products.
That's the real potential of technology in agriculture. It's not just about fancy gadgets, it's about leveling the playing field, giving farmers the tools they need to thrive in this complex global market.
Okay, so we've got climate change, globalization, technology. It's a lot to process. But it seems like there's a common thread here.
What's that?
Adaptability. Being willing to change, to learn, to embrace new ideas, it feels like that's the key to success in Jamaican agriculture, maybe in any kind of agriculture.
I think they're right. It's about honoring tradition, yes, but also being open to new possibilities. Blending old knowledge with new tools, that's where the magic happens.
It's like honoring the past, but with an eye on the future.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so exciting. Seeing how Jamaican farmers will continue to innovate, to find new ways to thrive, the story's still being written.
Well, I'm feeling inspired. It's a complex landscape, but Jamaican farmers are incredibly resilient, resourceful. We've covered a lot. But I think it's time to take a breath, synthesize what we've learned. Let's take a quick pause, and we'll be right back to wrap things up. All right, we're back. Tomatoes, cantaloupe, gungo peas, climate change, globalization. It's been a lot.
It has. A real roller coaster of a deep dive.
But as we wrap things up, what's the big takeaway here? Like, what do you really want our listeners to walk away with?
I think what struck me most is how much this all connects. The Jamaican agricultural market, it's like this little window into what's happening globally. It's all about resilience, about adapting to a world that's constantly changing. Pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. It's like we've been looking at this one little corner of the world, but it reflects these massive global forces.
Exactly. And for anyone trying to make sense of it all, whether they're a farmer, a policymaker, or just someone buying groceries, the key is to dig deeper.
Dig deeper, like how?
Don't just look at the numbers, the trends, the headlines. Ask yourself, why? Why are tomato prices doing this? Why is cantaloupe doing that? Why is there scarcity here but stability there? The answers, well, they can lead to some real insights.
It's like we were playing detective, right? Gathering clues, piecing together a puzzle.
I like that. And sometimes the most interesting clues are the ones that are missing. Like that NIE supply data for Kingston and St. Andrew, remember? Makes you wonder what's really going on there.
Right, there's always more to the story. So it's not just about reacting to what's happening. It's about being proactive.
Absolutely. Understanding the market, the forces at play, that's how you make informed decisions, how you position yourself for success. And a big part of that, I think, is embracing technology. We talk about precision farming, data analytics, e-commerce. Those are powerful tools.
And it feels like we're just scratching the surface, right? There's so much more to come.
Oh, definitely. Technology is changing everything, but it's not about replacing tradition. It's about enhancing it. Like, think about those gungo peas again.
Good old gungo peas.
Right. They're part of Jamaican culture, history. But now imagine combining those traditional growing methods with cutting-edge technology, optimizing yields, conserving water, things like that.
It's the best of both worlds, old and new, working together.
That's the future, I think. Honoring the past while embracing the future, that's how Jamaican agriculture will thrive.
Well said. It's been a wild ride, this deep dive, but I feel like we've learned so much.
Me too. And for our listeners out there, remember, this is just a snapshot.
A snapshot of a market that's always moving, always changing.
Exactly. So stay curious, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the next big thing in Jamaican agriculture.
Maybe we'll have you back on the show to talk about it. Until then, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Happy farming, happy eating, and keep those brains working.